We got, guys.
All right, our first one comes from Balul Anwar on Facebook asking, if I pleaded guilty to public intoxication in 2016 in Virginia, and that is the only crime on my record, how will it affect my case when I file for citizenship?
I doubt it, because public intoxication is probably not bad moral character per se. I mean, if you're walking around drunk every day and it's every month your public intoxication, that's a different story. But I think one time, I think you're okay.
Ann Martin on Facebook, can a green card holder marry someone and then file for an adjustment of status? How long does this usually take?
If they are, the answer is yes, if their person is in legal status and priority dates remain to be current, yes.
Okay, PD, this is an email. It's pretty long, so
oh gosh,
just bear with me.
All right.
I'm a U.S. citizen and have been with my non-citizen companion for 15 years and lived out of the U.S. the majority of the time. After being denied for a tourist visa 3 times, we used someone who said they could help us by claiming a different common law wife, but he was denied a tourist visa for the 4th time in 2018. Now, we got married June 2019 and submitted the I-130 petition with a priority date of October 15, 2019. I returned to the U.S. and began work in November 2019 to establish domicile. Now, okay, this is the last part. After 11 months, I received a notice from USCIS that he is denied a spousal visa because we did not prove a dissolution to the common law relationship that was invented. Now, what can we do to resolve this nightmare?
Refile again. Get evidence. Well, first of all, common law marriage is not a civil marriage. Immigration should know that. Go to the area wherever you claim to have gotten married from that particular country. Get every country has your neck hurts you, yo-yo. Every country.
Yeah, I went to the gym today.
Yeah,
messing my back.
Gosh, every country has somewhere where you can get proof of marriages, and you're going to go to that particular civil government agency where whatever country you're in, and get a letter saying that they have done a search of marriages throughout the entire country or that province, or you have to go to all the individual provinces in the country where you live, and they've done this search and there is no record of any marriage between your husband and whoever this made-up lady is. There's your proof. He was never married to anybody. Now, after you file the I-130, he's going to go to the U.S. Embassy and they're going to say, wait a second, you were here a few years ago, pal, and you said you were married to this lady, and now we have some evidence here that says you were never married to her. So you lied to us back then, you're denied. But then you got to file a waiver. So you got to get to the point where you can file a waiver, and that's how it's going to be.
Wow.
Jennifer James on Facebook, if I am living in Jamaica and my son's sister who lives in the United States wants to adopt my son, who is a 14-year-old Jamaican citizen, how exactly would it work?
Well, the son has to be an orphan. So if you're not adopting an orphan, you got to prove you lived in the same household with that child before 16. It's going to be difficult unless you're actually living in Jamaica with him. So first, orphan. And if he's going to adopt your son, you're not going to go commit suicide to orphan your kid. So basically, your parental rights have to be stripped. You can't consent to it. It has to be stripped because you're not able to take care of the child because of, your economic condition, or you have abandoned the child. But somehow your parental rights have to be stripped from you by a government agency. And that child has to be an orphan. And then you can start an orphan petition, but it's a whole process. And this woman is asking about an adoption of her child. So who knows? They need a consultation.
Okay, Nikki Tria on Facebook's asking, I received my EAD this month after filing my I-360 application, but since to receive any approval letter, is there anything I can do to expedite the process?
Expedite the process for an I-130?
I-360.
No, there is no way to expedite an I-360.
Nikki Boneo on YouTube. If I got my EAD through VAWA on August 31st, 2020, but have yet to receive an approval letter, is there any way I can expedite the process?
I think that was the same person, maybe twice, or two people want to expedite their process. The answer is VAWA cases take over 2 to 2.5 years. You don't necessarily can expedite it if it's taking 3, 4, 5 years and you still haven't gotten it. Then obviously you can file a mandamus.
Okay, we had a fan of the show sent an email asking, we filed the N-400 for my husband in April. When they asked, how many times have you been married? We put 0 because it was confusing as to whether the current marriage counts in that question. But then when asked, how many times has your current spouse been married? We put 1 because neither of us had previous marriage. In short, the answers are inconsistent. Is there something we need to worry about or clarify?
This is for what? Their adjustment interview?
For the N-400.
I think what you need to do is when you go on the interview, before you sit down, you want to tell the immigration officer, I really tried to answer it honestly, and this is why it got all jumbled up, and explain yourself and correct it.
Austin Okusan on YouTube. What do I do if placed in deportation? How can I fight it?
Well, you got to find some relief. Either, I don't know if you have a green card. I don't know why you're in deportation. I don't know if you're out of status. You're asking me to basically recite a book of relief of deportation. We need to figure out your specific situation.
Hey, Bisma Tamim on YouTube asks, if I'm American and I want to adopt my Iraqi nephew whose father recently passed away, how can I do this?
Well, where's the mother? Again, it's about orphans. So unless, you got to strip the mother of her parental rights, unless the mother's passed away also, and then bring the child over as an orphan, file an orphan petition. And also you got to do a pre-adoption in the particular state where you're living. So it's a process. You need help with a lawyer.
Kimmy Lewis on YouTube. Is emergency Medicaid a public charge that will affect my green card application?
No, it's not. And by the way, every one of these questions is from yesterday. So I think people who are watching yesterday are hearing the same exact questions. So somebody is reading the wrong thing. Let's continue.
Not mine. Mine are new.
Okay.
Okay, Shelly Ann Clark on Facebook asked, if my I-485 was denied and I have outstanding convictions, can I still reapply for the I-485 again now?
What are the outstanding convictions? I don't know what their outstanding convictions are. So if you have outstanding convictions, mean you've been convicted of something, I need to know what it is. If you have a current case and there's been no resolution to it, I wouldn't do anything until you have a resolution. But I need to know what the particular convictions were.
A King's Mind Reacts on YouTube. I was found inadmissible to the U.S. for 5 years after being accused of intending to work. Is there any way I can return to the U.S. prior to 5 years? What are my options?
If you may not be able to come ever, because if you were stopped at the airport and accused of working, basically they denied your entry for misrepresentation, which is a permanent bar. You can't come back for 5 years for nothing, and then after 5 years, however you're going to come back requires a waiver.
Woodward on YouTube asked, my children are minors when they filed I-485.
You're breaking up. Go again.
Hold on, yeah.
We got half a yo-yo. Nope, we got half a yo-yo. We got a frozen yo-yo. Frozen yo-yo. Frozen.
Okay, now you're back.
Okay. Nope, still frozen. All right, you go.
Okay, so Sabrina, what he was trying to read is Sabrina Woodard on YouTube. If my children were minors when I filed for their I-630 applications, but they are 18 and 19 years old, should I file? I do remember you answering that one yesterday.
Yeah.
Jose Ramirez Tapia on YouTube. What evidence do I need to provide to USCIS if my sponsor is retired, doesn't file taxes, but does meet the 125% above poverty level needed in income?
Well,
That one's new.
if there's income, then you submit your 3 years tax returns and a letter from the sponsor saying they're unemployed, they're retired, but here's my income nevertheless.
Am I still breaking up?
No, you're okay now.
No, you're good now.
Okay, Belinda Joseph on YouTube asked, if my dad wants to file for his citizenship, what forms does he need to complete?
N400.
Islamic Master King on YouTube. If I was given a 10-year bar placed in removal initially because my spouse was not petitioned for me, how can I re-enter the U.S.?
Islamic King got deported, so I don't know how he's going to enter back the U.S. We got to figure out what happened. He needs a consultation. It's not that simple. I mean, I wish the answer was go buy a plane ticket and come back, but it's not that simple.
Crystal Pear on Facebook is asking if there is a 212, or is there a 212 waiver A6CI?
There's a 212C waiver. The 212C waiver is a waiver to return after a deportation. So is that what she's referring to?
There's no 212 waiver A?
There's a
or
212C waiver. That is to come back after deportation. What she is referring to is some ground of inadmissibility in the Immigration Nationality Act, and she wants to know, is there a waiver for that? I believe what she is asking is drug waiver. There is no waiver for drugs. I believe that's the section for drugs, but I'm not 100% certain because I haven't, to this day, never memorized every section of the Immigration and Nationality Act.
Tanisha Robinson Weeks on Facebook. Up until what age can I file for a child who is outside of the U.S.?
Till that child is passed away from birth to death. It just depends what your situation is. Are you a resident? If you're a resident, you can petition a child, as long as they're single. If you're a step parent, then you can only file for a child if the child was under 18 at the time of the marriage. If you're a U.S. citizen, you could also apply for a child from birth to death, but are you the biological or the step? And then if you're the biological, U.S. citizen can do it whether married or single from birth to death. And then it just depends on what their waiting time is, depending on what this particular son or daughter or child's situation is. Did I explain that right? That was a little convoluted. I don't always explain right, but that was the idea. A little convoluted by Uncle Brad there. All right, two more.
All right, Sashanti Brooks on YouTube asking, if I'm living in the U.S. and I'm also a citizen, what's the best and easiest option for me when it comes to marrying my wife who still lives in Jamaica?
Your wife is still in Jamaica, then why are you marrying her? You're already married. File the I-130. If you're not married, then do a fiancé visa. That will be faster.
Okay.
Susie Cute on Instagram. My wife is in the U.S. military and attended her naturalization ceremony on June 22nd, 2020. The officer told her she was approved and had up to 90 days to change her name. We submitted the correct name to USCIS, but how can we confirm USCIS had the correct / changed name at her oath ceremony?
When you go to the oath ceremony, you'll find out. There's no way to figure it out beforehand. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.